All right, let's dive into one of the most pivotal moments in history. We're talking about a time when a single invention from the Renaissance didn't just change the world, it totally supercharged it.
So let me ask you something. Before we had the internet, what was the fastest way to change the world? I mean, really think about it. Today, an idea can go viral in seconds, right? But back then, what was the tech that could shake up society, take on empires, and make knowledge spread like wildfire? Well, that answer is exactly what we're getting into today. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at what I call the information bottleneck. Then, we'll meet our man Gutenberg and his game changer. After that, we'll see how the Renaissance goes north, meet some new writers with new rules, and finally, wrap it all up with a legacy in print. Let's do it.
All right, first up, the information bottleneck. To really get how big of a deal this revolution was, you first have to understand the problem it was solving. So let's jump back in time to the world before 1450. A world with a huge, and I mean huge, information problem.
I want you to just picture this for a second. Every single book handwritten. Every single copy, word for word, painstakingly created by a scribe. It's crazy to think about, but this made books incredibly rare and unbelievably expensive. We're talking as expensive as a house expensive. So, knowledge? It wasn't for everybody. It was a luxury item, a treasure that was pretty much locked away and controlled by the powerful and the wealthy.
And that brings us to the main event, our big turning point, because one man and his incredible machine are about to blow that bottleneck wide open.
So the guy we need to talk about is Johann Gutenberg. Now, here's the thing. He didn't just invent printing out of thin air. His real genius was taking technologies that were already around, like a press for making wine and techniques for casting metal, and combining them into one amazing revolutionary system. And this system made printing fast, cheap, and super efficient for the very first time in Europe.
Okay, get your highlighters ready, because this is our first big vocabulary word for your study guide, movable type. This right here was the heart of Gutenberg's invention. See, instead of carving a whole page onto one big block of wood, he made tiny, individual letters out of metal. You can arrange them to spell out whatever you wanted, press them onto paper, and then, and this is the magic part, you could take them all apart and reuse them for the next page. It was brilliant, totally modular, super efficient, an absolute game changer.
And this simple idea set off this incredible chain reaction. It's pretty straightforward, right? Step 1. Books suddenly become way cheaper to make. Step 2. Because they're cheaper, more people can actually afford them, which gives everyone a massive reason to learn how to read. And step 3. With a whole new audience of readers, brand new ideas about everything, science, religion, politics, could just explode across the continent faster than anyone could have ever dreamed.
So, where are all these new ideas going? Well, the Renaissance had been booming down in Italy for a while, but the printing press, that was like the high-speed train that carried all those revolutionary ideas right over the Alps and into Northern Europe. And this is a great breakdown. Think of it like the perfect flashcard for your test. See, the Italian Renaissance was all about looking back to the classics, ancient Greece and Rome, focusing on art and beauty. But when those ideas, spread by printed books, got to Northern Europe, the thinkers up there had a different spin. They took that same humanist spirit and aimed it at something else entirely, trying to fix the problems they saw in the church.
So this Northern Renaissance kicks off a whole new wave of incredible writers and thinkers. And they weren't just armed with new ideas. They had a seriously powerful new way to get those ideas out to the people. And that brings us to our next key term, another one for the study guide, vernacular. Okay, so for centuries, all the important stuff, all the books, all the official documents, was written in Latin. The problem? Almost nobody actually spoke Latin anymore. But these new writers started doing something radical. They started writing in the vernacular, the language people actually spoke every day, like English or German or French. This was huge. It was like taking knowledge down from a locked shelf and putting it right into the hands of ordinary people.
A perfect example of this is a guy named Desiderius Erasmus. He was a Dutch humanist, and he was really concerned that the church was getting way too focused on money and power. So he wrote this book, In Praise of Folly, and he used satire, basically sharp, witty humor, to criticize corrupt priests. He argued that the church needed to get back to the basics. And because his book could be printed and sold everywhere, his ideas spread like crazy.
Then, over in England, you've got Sir Thomas More. He's looking around at all the political drama and greed, and he writes a book called Utopia. It's about this imaginary island, this perfect society where there's no greed and everyone lives together peacefully. It was, of course, a major critique of the world he was living in, and his book was so influential that it literally gave us the word we still use today, utopia, for any kind of perfect, ideal place.
And come on, you can't talk about the English Renaissance without talking about the man himself, William Shakespeare. His plays were just on another level. He dove deep into these complex human emotions: love, jealousy, ambition, grief. He really took that Renaissance idea of focusing on the individual and put it right on the stage for everyone to see. He was exploring what it means to be human, and let's be honest, his work is so powerful it still blows us away today.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. What's the big, lasting legacy here? Because the printing press didn't just cause a little bit of change. No, it helped create an entirely new world.
And this really gets to the core of it, right? How could this one little machine actually weaken the most powerful institution on the planet at the time, the Catholic Church? Well, for the first time ever, the Church didn't have total control over information anymore. Suddenly, critics like Erasmus could print thousands of copies of their ideas. They could spread them way faster than the authorities could ever hope to track them down and burn them. It really did become an information war.
And the Church's response gives us our last key term for today: censor. Once the authorities realized they were losing this information war, they started to censor books. That means they would either ban them outright or literally cut out the parts they didn't like. This whole idea of censorship was a direct reaction to the power of the printing press. It was basically them admitting, wow, we can't control this conversation anymore.
So, let's do a quick final review. What are the big takeaways from the Renaissance? The legacy is massive. You've got art, which was totally changed by new techniques like realism and perspective. You've got society with a whole new focus on the individual and on secular or non-religious ideas. And you've got science, where this new spirit of questioning authority, well, that set the stage for the entire scientific revolution. It's a huge deal.
Think about it. Gutenberg's printing press gave a powerful voice to critics and reformers. It took information out of the hands of the few and gave it to the many. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What technology does that today? What's our printing press? The tools might look different, but the power of an idea to spread and change the world, well, that's as revolutionary today as it was 500 years ago.